All right. All right. We said we're going to start at 8:35. It's not 8:33. It's not 8:35 yet, but it's 8:33. Nonetheless, we're going to start right now. As you can see from the title, we're looking at what went wrong with the DCEU DCU. Okay. So we're gonna talk about that. Um, we're gonna talk about that. All right. Got 1 more minute left. I'm just circulating stuff right now. And then we're gonna get into it. All right. Right. So pleasant night to everybody. We're going to talk about what went wrong with the DCEU, DCU. And I promise you guys that you are going to want to do something at the end of this video. Because I'm going to approach this in a different way. How a lot of people are used to seeing this stuff. Right, it's 8:35. That's when this stream's supposed to begin. You guys can pile in if you want to. I'm almost done. I'm almost done. One more. Okay. So first things first. If you want to support this channel, you can donate via PayPal. The link is in the chat section as well as in the description of this stream. And if you want to join our guests on here, you can just click the link. It's again in the chat area of the stream, the top area of the screen. Okay. How are we going to go about this? As usual, we're going to start off with a piece of scripture. And then the topic we're going to talk about is the Snyderverse films. We're going to talk about the rest of the DCEU, which is now called the DCU. We'll talk about Abdi and DeLuca's performance. Talk about Gunn brings nothing new to DC. Some programs, same program as Amada and Berg. Johns was never fired. I know I covered that before. Casey Bloyd, Jeff Johns, James Gunn still at DC attempts to bring back Joss Whedon, and what we can do. Okay, so we're going to go through all of those things. Start off with a piece of scripture. Let me get into it right now. The scripture comes from Isaiah chapter 10, verses 1, 2, and that's about it. Okay, it goes. Destruction is certain for the unjust judges, for those who issue unfair laws. They deprive the poor, the widows, the orphans of justice. Yes, they rob the widows and the fatherless children. Let me say it again. Destruction is certain for the unjust judges, for those who issue unfair laws. They deprive the poor, the widows, and the orphans of justice. Yes, they rob the widows and fatherless children. I don't need to say too much about that, but if you want me to say a little something, I'm going to say this. What goes around comes around. What you sow is what you reap. So therefore, it is not inconsequential when you try to deceive, trick, malign people. And people who are working for you, you decide to exploit them. Then your just reward will come. Desolation. Okay? So that's what that means. Now, in the context of what we're about to talk about in quite a lot of detail, so this will take some time. Give me 1 second. I am cooking some food while I am talking to you guys on the stream. So I'm just going to go turn off the stove and come right back to you guys. Okay. Yeah, so tonight is going to be a night where we're really going to break down a lot of things. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff. It's going to be very comprehensive because there's a lot of things that people in high places have done which really has adversely affected the product that they were bringing out. Okay, so but what we first start with is the Snyderverse films. And we'll go through them one at a time because, you know, a lot of times when people wheel and deal and they try to, you know, have leverage and do things so that they can benefit, so that their name looks great and so on, they don't think of the bigger picture. You know what I'm saying? They don't. Joseph N says, yo, salute to Joseph N in the building. Shout out to you, brother. If you want to pop on here as a guest, the link is in the chat section. If you want to donate to this channel as well, there's PayPal. All right. And the link is there. But what I wanted to say is what went horribly wrong with the DCU or the DCEU is that people did not understand what the creatives were doing. And to some degree, I can understand when a new regime comes in from an old regime. The old regime had certain programs in place, and this new regime now comes and tries to rehaul everything. I can understand them not understanding what's going on. Joseph N says that Patterson Batman movie sucked. My brother, I can't disagree with you in a certain respect, in the sense that it was a quality movie. The cinematography and everything was on point. But we're going to go into why I think you thought it sucked. We're gonna pinpoint what the problem was. All right, because I got a lot to say. Joseph N says, I'm on my phone, bro. I can't get on StreamYard. Yes, you can. Yeah. You can get on StreamYard via phone. I am on a phone. I'm actually doing this from StreamYard and I'm on a phone. So you can do it on a phone. Yeah, sure. StreamYard has changed quite a lot. All you got to do is click that link right there and you'll be able to pop up. And you can chop it up with me, brother. This is not a problem. Just click the link and I'll bring you in as a guest and we can talk and we can chop it up. Got so much to say, though. So how are we going to start this off is with the Snyderverse films. I'm going to show you something about why these films did so well. And the first thing you got to understand is, and Zack Snyder got this. He really got it. Superheroes actually exist in the world today. Let me say it again. Superheroes actually do exist in the world today. You know what our superheroes are? The sports people, the sporting stars, the athlete. Zack Snyder gets this. He said all the people who had to play superheroes had to get in immaculate shape. They had to get in shape like a military person and like an athlete. Think about it. Who are your heroes in the world today? Who are the people you rock with and you get emotional about? People get emotional about sports. You want to see people hoop and holler? You want to see people scream and yell? Bring a sporting event out there, and a global sporting event, a worldwide sporting event. These athletes are seen as superheroes, and we hold them up to a certain standard. Yes or no? Like I said before, this is going to be a different video to anything anybody has produced on YouTube or anywhere, because what I'm about to say is real stuff, and we hold the people to the same sort of heights and levels as we do the characters on the screen. Right? People get so dogmatic about it, it's very interesting. Oh, okay. Now, this is important to understand. Superheroes exist. I'm going to show you another example of superheroes existing. Now, they don't always stay a superhero, but any person who seems larger than life to you, your world circles somewhat around them. They may be your mentor or whoever they may be. They are your superhero. They're not just a hero. Heroes are plenty, but they're your superhero. Your mother is your superhero. Some people's superhero. Right? I was watching a video on Twitter where this newborn baby was in her mother's bosom, and the baby just kept staring at the mother. The mother wasn't watching at the baby. And then the mother takes off her glasses and she looks at the baby, and it's almost like a connection that's so weird. The mother starts to smile, and the baby initiates the smile, and the mother starts to smile. Both of them start smiling at each other. And it's so amazing how our superhero, the first person we bond with, the first person, when our eyes can see properly, that we bond with is our mother. It's one of the most important relationships you have to have. It's what makes the human being, creates the ego, everything, psychologically speaking. It's your mother. And they say there's nothing quite like a mother's love. It's for real. If a mother loves her child, there's nothing right. What I want to say to you guys, and we take it for granted, because the first time a human being feels security, now we begin to understand this concept of security even before we even know who we are, because we are nestled in the cradle of our mothers. We're in the center of a mother. The center of a mother's body is the womb. It is literally the central part of the human body, and it's there to protect that which is inside of it. We understand security even before we understood the concept of security, because we are securely nestled inside of a human being, in the most protected area of that human being. And when we are born and we come out of this protected area, the first interaction we have, unless we're premature or whatever, is with that person who contained us. And it's just so amazing. I don't know if any of you guys have realized this, but think back to your childhood if you can. I mean, some of you guys are so old that it probably is like cobwebs. Think back to your first recollection, your first time having consciousness. And think about who it was that you were with. And if you had a mother, she's the first thing that you ever conceptualized. And the reason that is so is because she is your security. The human beings learn about security through a bond with, usually it is the mother. Now, if you, sometimes it doesn't happen like that, and the father has to take care of the kids, the mother's dead or whatever. We have a lot of broken people in this world who cannot deal with intimacy, and they are not secure in their own skins because they didn't have that bond with their mother. When a woman discards a child, or a woman dumps a child on a grandparent, or she dumps a child, especially the mother. I'm not talking about the father yet. I'm going to talk about the mother first. She dumps off that child, and she doesn't want the children come out distraught. I know. I have a cousin. He's a mess. He grew up crying all the time. He was always crying until he got back with his mother. And he has never left his mother. To this day, he takes care of his mother, everybody. He's there, okay? What people don't understand is there is a powerful connection. The most successful people you'll ever find in this world have a very powerful connection with their mothers. As such, there is no, I can't even put words to it, how much of a superhero a mother is. Okay? Do superheroes exist in the world today? Absolutely. They do. And sometimes ways in which we take for granted. I am almost 50 years old, believe it or not. And even in the absence of my mother, who has long since passed away, she's passed away now 4 years, this woman set up things in place to make sure that all her children had security before she passed away. All of them. That's amazing. I don't know about men doing this. My mother did it. Some people say, well, why do children love their mothers more than their fathers? It's not that they don't love their fathers. It's just in a different manner. But the relationship, the knitting between a mother and her child is uncanny. It's powerful. And I didn't grieve as much for the loss of my father as I did grieve for the loss of my mother. The point I'm making is, before we go any further, is that you have people in your life who are indeed superheroes. You may overlook them. You may take them for granted. But they are. When you think about it and you put it together and you realize what these people do and how much they mean, not just to you, but a whole bunch of other people, you realize these people are superheroes. They're superheroes. They're not just heroes. They're superheroes. Okay. So superheroes do exist. They may not toot their own horn. They may not say, da, 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 I came to save the day. They may not do that. But they do it. Zack Snyder gets it. He got it. He wasn't here to give some grand entrance and say, oh, this guy, he saved the day. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, and then he gives you all you want to see and all you want to hear. And this is how I think of my superhero. No, he wasn't doing that. He wasn't going to give you the usual tropes. No. He decided to show you what a superhero is so you could identify a superhero in the world you live in. And that's powerful. That's powerful. Okay? James Gunn said something that was true. And you're saying, well, why am I quoting James Gunn? I'm going to quote James Gunn for a second. James Gunn said, superheroes today, superhero movies today are a dime a dozen. There's no innovation. There's no unique approach. All of them are the same way. He said it, I think, in June. They all do the same things. They all address the same. They have the same notes, the same beats, everything. He's right. The superhero movie and the superhero genre, Zack Snyder got it. He understood what we worship or what we honor or what gets our attention is the human being pushing their limits and doing something exceptional, sport. He also got and understood that a superhero doesn't come out and say, I'm going to save the day. Or people say, look, it's a murder. It's a plane. No, it's Superman. No. All of that ain't called for. Someone can be a superhero to you and to many other people by how important and central to your life that person is, and also how you would like to emulate and copy some of the admirable attributes of that person. He understood it. It's not about saying it. It's about showing it. Let me say it again. It's not about saying it. It's about showing it. Blah, 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 blah. You could say all kinds of things. You could say all kinds of stuff, and it could be good. But if you can't do it, if you can't show it, what good is it to anyone? The superhero. I want to go into that a little bit. On the big screen, the first superhero we saw was Superman. Hence, superhero. Superman. But Superman was neither super nor a man. Right? It was an alien who happened to be on a different environment where he had extra abilities, which he used for the good of other people. He was a helper. He liked to help people. The super part is interesting. The super part says this. People like to say it's about his abilities. No, he could have had great abilities, but used it only for himself, for his own gain. That's not what made him super. What made him super was his heart. Now, Jeff Johns likes to talk about how these movies have a lot of heart and, fun and hope. He kind of flings those words around. But as Christopher Reeve correctly said when he's describing Superman, he said he doesn't address Superman as a hero. He doesn't see Superman as a hero. And that is such a paradoxical statement to make. He said, when I have to play this role, I'm not thinking of him as a hero. I'm thinking of him as someone who's come from another world and is an immigrant. And as an immigrant who has lost his parents, but human beings have embraced him into their home and parented him and taught him about love, he feels grateful having lost so much and still gained something by humanity that he wants to do like his parents and help other people and love other people. He said, this is what I see Superman as. And that's amazing. That's the super. And the fact, and it's very paradoxical because he's not super, like I said before. In fact, Christopher Reeve doesn't see himself as super, just sees himself as kind. He sees himself as helpful. He sees himself as somebody who's gained something, and so he wants to help others gain something. You see, reciprocity and passing it on, passing it forward. This was the understanding of Superman. He had lost a lot, but then he gained some because he lost his birth parents. You'll come to find out that. He was adopted, even though he was illegal. They never signed him in. They never went with the government. They never, he had a birth name in the office, but they never said where he came from or anything. So he was an illegal immigrant that came to Kansas, Middle America, and was raised with Middle American values, which he embraced because he had nothing else to embrace. So he embraced that. Okay. And he learned what it was to be kind. And that was a key ingredient, which was what makes Superman, two paradoxical words, Superman. People call him Superman. Lois Lane called him Superman. The people called him that. He didn't call himself that. He doesn't think of himself as that. The people call him that. You get it? It's different. See, we think of Superman because we called him that. You get it? So I'm saying this to say that the approach to superhero movies and the approach to DC by Jeff Johns is an approach that is the opposite of what Christopher Reeve was motivated to do. The result was magnificent. Superman 1978 is still a classic. All right? But where Christopher Reeve's heart wasn't in being a superhero to save the day. He didn't even think of himself as a superhero when he was acting as Superman. So I'm saying this to say that the word superhero, okay, the word superhero just means a hero amongst heroes, the most important hero. One of my more important heroes, a hero of my life. You guys know, some of you have athletes who are your heroes. Some of you have mentors who are your heroes. Some of you have your parents. Some of them patting yourself after your parents and you don't even know it, but they're your heroes. See, you don't have to know that somebody's a hero in your life. But on reflection, you begin to realize how important that person has been for your life. And that's how you know they're your hero. I've had musicians, Stevie Wonder. I've had R. Kelly as one of my heroes. Loved how he wrote, his style of writing. A lot of people pattern themselves after him. They're great directors who, some of them are my heroes because I like them. And I myself want to direct a movie one day. And I want to be able to be as thoughtful and as how I show and display these audiovisual devices. I would like to do it in such a manner that it has some kind of impact, something like what those guys are doing. We have heroes in our life. We have people we look to. We have people who we pattern ourselves after. We have people who inspire us. We have people who have a special place in our heart. And that's the whole origin of where the superhero comes from. Back in the day, it wasn't called superheroes. They were called gods. Common GODS. We had Hercules, and we hear all these legendary stories and myths, which are grounded in some degree of truth. And they passed on from time to time to time because the people saw these bigger than life mythos as heroes. If you're a person who reads the Bible, the heroes of the Bible are men of great character and great power and so on, like Samson and Elijah, Ezekiel, and Jeremiah, Daniel, and so on. They are heroes or superheroes. The greatest superhero of all time for us Christians, from the biblical perspective, is Jesus the Christ. So you have to understand that superheroes do exist, but particularly they're the embodiment of attributes we all want to have, and to some degree we all share it. Zack Snyder got it. He came from a mythological standpoint, which precedes the modern comic book, precedes the modern understanding of these created artifacts or created constructs, what you call today the modern superhero. He got it. So the Snyderverse films are able to, and when I say the Snyderverse films, I'm talking about Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Wonder Woman, particularly those three movies. I wouldn't talk about the air cut because I've not seen it yet. But I'm sure the spin on what a villain is and what an anti-hero is and how these people can do heroic things and be heroes is also very interesting. It also shows you that, and if we do get the sequel to Zack Snyder's Justice League, the two sequels, we'll be able to see sometimes some people act as a villain at one point in time, and another time they act as a hero, a superhero at that. And it all shows you, just like in the real world, that people can change. They can change. They can change their minds on things. And I do believe that these Snyderverse films challenged people. And I'll give you a perfect example of what I'm talking about. How Zack Snyder, you know what? Let me get it. Sometimes it's better to show you than to tell you. I want to show you something. Yes, I'm going to show you something on YouTube. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. All right. I want to show you how tactical and brilliant Zod was. So he gets punched twice. Does he get punched 3 times? Hell no. Starts evasive maneuvers. This is Man of Steel. Ambush time. Here he comes. Cal gets the upper hand, and then it's all over, baby. About to kick his ass. He about to kick his ass. Kicking his ass. Because he's no match for Zod. No match for Zod. Zod is kicking his ass. But he loses the upper hand when he goes through the building. There it is right there. Table just turned. Just turned on him. Okay. Freeze frame. All right, freeze frame. Zod, General Zod, mentally, this man is on another level. He makes adjustments on the fly. He adapts to the environment. He's a super soldier. He kicked Cal's ass. Initially, Cal was beating him up, and then he started to kick Cal's ass. And the only reason Cal got an upper hand is because they went through that building, and Cal was able to get the upper hand on him. Chris Brown says, peace, my brother. Peace to you, my brother. Chris Brown, you can come through if you want to. You can join as a guest here if you want to chop it up with me. But we really got to talk about this superhero thing because it's so important. You know what I'm saying? And I have a point. I'm talking about it. I'm going to show you something just now. And I'm going to show you why when you're making a comic book movie or a superhero movie, why these things are important. And I mean, Zack Snyder, man, the guy got balls because you in Hollywood, you know, you got all these execs, all these people. The man had balls. He got balls. Okay. But y'all want to understand what I'm saying because I know I haven't even started to touch the surface of what I want to say. So we're going to get there. But shout out to Chris Brown. Want to join a guest on here, you can, because we're going to chop this up. We're going to go deep, folks. We're going to go deep. So Zod was kicking his ass. In fact, Zod kicked his ass all up into space. Then he started to kick his ass coming back down there, right? He was beating him up bad. The building changed everything. When they crashed through the building, the tables turned. You actually saw when it turned, actually. I can replay it if you want. If you don't want me to, I don't want to waste too much of your time. I want to get to the point, right? So they are now in what looks like a subway station or something like that, at the base of a subway station. And we're going to watch this. And after we watch it, we'll talk a little bit about it, all right? All right, so you ready? Here we go.
These people so much. You can mourn for them. Don't do that. Stop. Never.
All right, pause. All right now. Ballsy. A lot of balls. Very, very emotional scene. Who is Superman's hero? Want me to replay it again? Who is Superman's hero? Everybody thinks about the hero. Everybody thinks about the superhero. But no one thinks as the superhero. Who was Superman's hero? I told you it's going to be a different video. Let's watch it again.
Don't do this! Stop! Never!
Was Lois Lane. Lois Lane was Superman's hero in this movie, Man of Steel. His mother was also his hero. But without Lois, there'd be no Superman. He learned to trust her when she didn't divulge who he was. But she became something more at that very moment we just saw. Because he needed help. He had just committed an act he had never committed in his life and did something against his every inch and instinct and every single cell in his body didn't want to do it. But it was a tough choice, and it was the right choice, and it was the choice he had to do and live with afterwards. And after that horrific event, which probably horrified him more than anybody else, she was there to save him and to protect him. If you notice, he put his head like a child almost into her bosom. A child hiding his head in shame and fear, needing security. The same thing I told you about with mother, how the child learns security through it bonding with its mother. He didn't have his mother there. If you go back into BVS, when things get really difficult and complicated, he calls his mother. See, what people don't understand is a hero needs another hero to get strength. Jesus depended on his Father He'd go out early in the morning before dawn and talk with his father. See, we always put people up on pedestals, not understanding they need support systems. They can't be giving to everybody, and they're not getting anything in return. They need somebody to trust, rely on, somebody who's a rock for them. And this movie showed us that Lois Lane was that rock for Clark Kent. She was his world. She was his hero. He revolved around her. He trusted her. You want to talk about superheroes? Do you really want to talk about superheroes? Is that real or what? Is that real or what? Everybody talks about how, oh, Superman, he shouldn't have killed General Zod. Well, guess what? This is life. That's how life is. You have to make sometimes tough decisions. Decisions sometimes very difficult to live with after. They can haunt you for years. So to tell me, no, that the writer should have wrote something different is foolish. You're telling me you couldn't live and you couldn't make that choice. You couldn't make the tough decisions when it came down to it because this movie's about character. Want to be a superhero? You want to be somebody's hero, you better have character. And character says sometimes I have to make the tough decisions. Decisions that I, in my body, in my spirit, in my soul, would detest to want to do, but I have to do it. It's not in me. It wasn't in him to kill, but he had to dig it out. He had to do it. There was no other way. And for people to come here and say, no, they should have wrote something else, is to tell me that you're an escapist. You do not face head on the problem and the challenges in your life. We're all guilty of it at some point. We run away from the challenge in our life. I know it ain't, but it takes a lot of character, a lot, to face it, because it's a nightmare. You can have nightmares after just taking a life. No, a lot of us here have never taken a life. Thank God. We never had to get to that point where we had to take a life. It's haunting. So he couldn't, if it was just him alone there, staring in outer space, mentally, we talk about mental health already, he would have been gone. But thank God for Lewis. His hero came. That's what makes these movies different. I was listening to somebody talk about superhero movies, and they said, you know, superhero movies, they shouldn't take the superheroes too seriously. And they went on to say how, you know, once the movies have heart and fun, lots of hope, that's what's important. Well, guess what, my friend? The world ain't perfect like that anymore. We got kids growing up without parents. We've got kids growing up with cancer. We've got kids growing up molested. We've got kids growing up suicidal. World ain't perfect no more. Maybe in a world where sunbeams shine out of people's asses, yeah, but the world ain't perfect. As BBS said, diamond absolutes are not in this world today. And sometimes People need something that can speak to them, to their hearts and souls, to the funk and mess that they go through every day. Man of Steel spoke to me. Big grown ass man. Trying to find out my place in the world as a Christian. Man of Steel spoke to some teenage kids who were contemplating suicide. Man of Steel spoke to a woman who had been rejected by her family because she chose to go to another religion. See, comic book movies can make a difference when the person making the movie understands that he wants to say something important. Doesn't really matter what kind of style the movie's in, but they want to speak to people about something important. BVS touched the hearts of battle-worn veterans suffering from PTSD from war. Wondering what's the use of their lives. Now, some of y'all will say, oh, that movie was dark and very heavy and depressing. But for somebody out there, and apparently a lot, it spoke to them. That's the power of cinema. Sometimes what people call controversial movies, like Joker, considered a controversial movie, won a number of Academy Awards. Sometimes these movies, I know sometimes the director's just doing a case study, he's not trying to make any points, but he's bringing up things for discussion and topics and stuff. But sometimes these movies are more than just some cerebral amusement. Sometimes they're very real to people. Not only are they very real to people, but they help people work out their situations. The superhero genre can be addressed many different ways. But the one thing that's pivotal and important to it, before I go on to the rest of the DCU here, is that people understand that you cannot tamper with the creative process and the singular vision of the director. When that is tampered with, the unspoken as well as the spoken, meaning the intention by the director and even unintended things that are positive that the director doesn't even see, come out of the movie, because every single movie is its own person. I try to explain to people, a movie is a collaborative event, just like our business is a collaborative event. Our business is not just run by one individual, unless you're sole proprietorship, where you're doing everything. It's run by an individual, the workers under the individual, the helps, the customers, all come together to make this business what it is. A work of art, such as a movie, also has multiple participants. whether it's the financiers, to the cast and crew, to put this thing up on display. But once it goes up on display, it is its own thing. Why I say this so that people don't understand this. 300 is not the same movie as Watchmen. 300 is its own thing. Watchmen is its own thing. Yes, it has a common director, but it's its own story. Yes, the director has its own style in it, but it's its own story. You can't mix up 300 with Watchmen. You just can't do it. You can't mix up Army of the Dead with Zack Snyder's Justice League. You can't mix up BVS with Rebel Moon. You can't. All have the same director, but they're all their own thing. That's how movies are. They're a collaboration. Man of Steel is not the same as BVS, because BVS gives you a lot, because BVS had Chris Terrio there. And then from BVS, we had Zack Snyder's Justice League. Zack Snyder's Justice League had Chris Terrio and Zack Snyder, but it's its own thing. It's different to BVS. There are different cinematographers and different people doing the music, even though Hans Zimmer was there before. Now it's Junkie XL alone. You understand what I'm saying? So every movie has its own thing. You have to treat it like that. You have to have respect for the creative person. So when a director has a certain singular vision for a movie, and then some regime, maybe a change of regime, or maybe the regime that's there says, oh, we need to pivot. Usually it's because of a change of regime. We need to pivot away from this in the middle of the movie being made. Maybe the movie's shot, whatever, and they want to do reshoots and we're going to change it up. You are interfering with an organism. You are interfering with a message. You are interfering with what is to be projected out there. It doesn't matter what mechanism they do in other parts or in other studios. It doesn't matter. If you are a director-driven studio, then you let the director drive the thing. What makes movies relatable? You can have a good time at the cinema and you have fun. You have a fun movie, a comedy, whatever. You enjoy yourself. At the end of the comedy or at the end of the movie, you leave having been entertained. But I've found that transformative movies, whether they're comedies or whether they are straight movies, serious movies, transformative movies do not leave the cinema the same way you came. You don't. Joker is a transformative movie. Sound of Freedom is a transformative movie. You're not going to leave the cinema the same way you came. Blood Diamonds is a transformative movie. Man of Steel is a transformative movie. Wonder Woman is it's the first movie I actually cried in the middle of the movie. And it wasn't because it was a sad moment. I was crying because I didn't realize how much I did not know about Wonder Woman at that point in time. It was such an emotional moment, the No Man's Land scene. I cried during that. Transformative. It made me appreciate women on a whole other level, and my mother. Transformative. The best movies, in my opinion, are those that you enter the cinema thinking one way, but you're not going to leave the cinema thinking the same way. They're going to transform you. They're going to make you have to confront and think about things that you may not have thought about before. And they're not just intriguing, just, oh, that's a curiosity. It's not something like that. It's something where you evaluate your life at the end of watching a movie like that. I thought of The Passion of the Christ, transformative movie. So many people took life so much serious. Even if they didn't believe in Jesus, they took life so much seriously, much more seriously after seeing that movie. We need in cinema a balance. Sometimes we have humor. Sometimes you may feel for an adventure movie, or for something like a thriller, or for something that's closer to a real life, true to life movie, or something tremendously in fantasy. No one's saying that there's one sure way to portray art. Nobody's saying that. But what we are saying is that you must have an understanding of what you are portraying, and you must have a clear idea of what you are trying to say in a movie. Because, as I said before, transformative movies are important. That is what made cinema, in my opinion. And something worth my time to go see. Let me recap very quickly for those of you. It's a slow burn. That's how I work. I'm going to recap for you guys what I said before. 1, the superhero does exist. We see them all the time. We talked about athletes, the superstar athlete. Everybody want to be like that person. Don't understand all the work, hard work, and effort that goes into being that person. We consider them gods among men because they blow our minds. Usain Bolt running 9.58, blowed everybody's mind. We have superheroes because they are very important cornerstones of our lives. We may not realize it because they don't declare themselves superheroes, or nobody declares them superheroes. They don't go around saying, I'm going to save the day, or somebody say, oh, he's going to save the day. It's not that obvious. But when you look at these people, these are people you want to emulate. These are people you want they may be mentors, or they may be your parents. They're people you want to be like. Zack Snyder gets those two things. He understands he has to show you it. Talk is cheap. Actions better speak louder than words. And he showed you how a hero or a superhero will do something that goes almost against every single bone in their body if it's the right thing to do. Makes the tough choices. I showed you guys how a superhero doesn't see themselves as a superhero. It's so paradoxical. Because a superhero is a superhero to a person or to other people, or maybe to a lot of people, because they mean so much to them. And they revolve around. Point number 4. Every superhero has a superhero they look to. They get motivated by. They find comfort in, and safety and security. For Superman was Lois Lane and his mother. That's why he protected Lois Lane like that. It wasn't just that he loved her. It was that she was his rock. Zack Snyder gets it. How many of you guys lean on, depend on Jesus? Lean on, depend on the comfort of your support system, whether it's your family, whether it's some friend that you can confide in, whether it's your spouse you can confide in. That's your rock, kind of holds you together. We all lean on someone. We all can't go it alone. For a Christian perspective, the body is Christ. Just up to tonight, I helped out another brother as I was out the road. It was a spiritual connection. I understood he needed something. I know I had something to give, so I helped him out. He's a Christian, I'm a Christian. I didn't know him from scrap, but he behaved like a Christian. He manifested. He showed who he was. I knew what I had to do, and I did it. Spiritual, right? And what you got to understand is we like to put people up on a pedestal, and we like to hold them to standards, sometimes unfairly. And Zack Snyder started to break through the mythos and show the reality of the mythos. My last point that I just most recently did is I said, when we have people who are not in the creative process, they're not creatives. Every movie is its own organism. But if people who are not in the creative process don't stay in their lane and they keep on interfering with the creative process, you're going to get something that don't make no sense and say nothing. It says nothing. You go in the theater, you get empty entertainment. You're, yeah, ha, 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 and then you leave none the better. Because there wasn't a singular vision by the director. The director went, he planned out the movie and everything. He said, okay, this is what I'm going to say. This is what I'm going to say. And we're going to go different layers. And it's going to be good. And then this cook comes in there and say, no, you need to change it up like this. And then another cook comes in there and says, no, you need to change it up like this. And none of them cooks qualify to cook. None of them. This is what I think a hero should be. And this is what I think a hero should be. And when you're done, you scramble eggs. Because the movie can't make no sense of itself. It's like, oh, I want to say this. No, should I say this? Should I say this? It can't make up its mind. Justice League 2017. Frankenstein of a movie, right? Couldn't make up its mind what it wanted to do. Because what you have to understand is, the movie was made to be a certain way with a singular vision. You gotta have a singular vision. The story gotta say something. It gotta have a baseline. It gotta be going to something. But when you got one cook pushing this way and one cook going that way, you can't have nothing. You can't. If you're not qualified to go in there and change stuff, I don't want to cuss, then please keep your hands off the thing. Stop sending notes. Stop sending notes. James Gunn, leave the Aquaman movie. It don't have to transition into what you're doing. Let it run its course. You said the DCEU is over. Well, let it run its course. Leave the thing alone. Let James Wan do what James Wan do. So we could get something that says something. When I say said something, I don't think people understand. The Flash said something. Flash said, don't go back in time and change it. Right? That's what the Flash was saying. But that wasn't what Andy Muschietti wanted to say. He wanted to say way more than that. But then we got this executive and that executive and this executive and that executive ping-ponging the thing all over the place. So what Andy Muschietti started off with is nowhere near what he got in the end. He got a mess. And then let's not talk about Black Adam. Black Adam started off a certain way. We got interference all over the place. And it ended chopped up, dialed back. Jeff Johns. Let's talk about it. I got to talk about it. Move this back a second. It is hot. Mr. Jeff Johns has been in some way, shape, or form advising or writing the various DCEU flops that we got. James Wan publicly said about Aquaman that he wanted to do a horror movie under the sea. A movie that was horrific, but at the same time, adventuresome. Mr. Jeff Johns vetoed it. Mr. Jeff Johns decided it needed to be brighter. So James Wan was working with Weta. All of a sudden, he's working with Industrial Light and Magic, right? ILM. The way how Atlantis was supposed to be was changed. The story, which was going to be centered around Orm making war with the surface, and Aquaman, being at odds with Orm, changed. And the war with the surface became a side note, and Black Manta took over the story. Jeff Johns. So the singular vision of James Wan suddenly became fractionated because a guy who is not a creative on the movie, not a part of this organism becoming what it's supposed to become, was changing up the movie. Aquaman became a shallow, entertaining journey in which, at the end of the movie, you're none the better for watching it. Yes, he didn't kill Orm. Yes, he at least knew a little bit more about his mother. What's the take-home message for me? What am I seeing of myself in that movie? What's the significance of that superhero in my life? Interesting to some degree. Well, it was an adventure, but it meant nothing. You will find, whether rated R or not, a lot of these DCEU movies that flopped were held back. If you look at, for example, Suicide Squad, not the Suicide Squad, Suicide Squad, David Ayer said he took his somber movie and made it into a effing comedy. But that's not all. They dialed back his movie. Some of the greatest performances of his actors were not seen because they cut and they chopped, hacked to pieces the movie. When we look at Justice League, the Zack Snyder Justice League, and we look at Justice League, we can see how much it was dialed back. Because, we're dealing with Jeff Johns, right? Jeff Johns says a hero supposed to be hopeful A hero is supposed to be fun, and a hero is supposed to have plenty of heart. But this guy's clueless as to relatability, the reflection of reality, and how this hero on the screen meshes up with the heroes in real life. That life isn't perfect, and that as much as you would love to be an escapist, what is the use having escapism if it's going nowhere, telling you nothing? That is nihilism. Pretending with fake hope, pretending with fake fun and fake heart. It's a fallacy. So ultimately, in the end, these people that go out there, they pour out their guts, they pour their heart and soul into a movie for this guy who does not make movies, to force his idea of how these characters should be into the movies, into the narrative, into the story, destroying the movies. Aquaman was a tremendous success financially. It was kooky. It didn't have much of anything. It was light, easy on the eye, entertaining, but not transformative. Made a ton of money. Then came Shazam. And Shazam was lighthearted, supposedly a family movie. Same old, same old. Fun, some heart, a little bit of hope. But ultimately, in the end, a feel-good movie, but nothing. Nothing. Because it's built on the premise that all families, though imperfect, can have a foundation of love and trust and all this bullshit. And a lot of families don't have that. And things don't flow easily. There's a lot of fairy tales. Not to say that fairy tales aren't true in some way, shape, or form, but there's a lot of fairy tales and Walt Disney-like renditions out there of comic book movies. And it wasn't much different for the Harley Quinn film. And that's how I started to see this one-note tendency with these movies, even with the Wonder Woman 84, one-note tendency. And I knew Jeff Johns was involved in it because these characters had to have heart and all the other bullshit. Harley Quinn is not a good person. And I know Kathy Ann wanted to go to the nth degree again. And I know the studio made her dial back. On a rated R film, by the way. This film was supposed to be rated R. No way in God's green earth Harley Quinn's shooting beanbags at people with flowers coming out of them. Come on, man. Bullets. You know she was going to use bullets. She was going to kill. She doesn't think twice about killing. She's crazy. And the movie, even though it had these extreme sort of male-hating kind of feminist kind of thing going on there, it wasn't even feminist. It was male-hating, male bashing going on in the movie. I still didn't have a problem with that. My thing was, take it where it needs to go. You're holding back. And in making art and making stuff, you have to pour everything out. And maybe there is a version of Harley Quinn movie where she, they took it to the nth degree, but we didn't see it. And the other thing, and again, Zach gets this. Some of the actors, like Canary and the biker lady, they were supposed to be. They should have trained more for that movie. They didn't look physically strong. They didn't look like athletes. And like I said before, Zach gets this. The natural superhero is an athlete. They're an athlete. In today's world, we view athletes as superheroes. Superstar athletes are superheroes. They're in the peak condition of fitness. And these women needed to train their, pardon my French, asses off to get to that fitness level. And they weren't there. And you were looking at the sun scenes and they were lackluster and they looked terrible at certain points. And it wasn't believable. You gotta get this. And we know it's all fake, but you have to get it to look and to convince and to draw people in as reality. Birds of Prey wasn't necessarily a bad film. But see, people are not coming in there to see an okay film. Just not. And controversy sells films. Because what makes something controversial is the fact that it's introducing something to you never considered before. It's something where you have taken certain things for granted. And sometimes the filmmaker, because they know exactly what they're trying to tell you, the filmmaker is saying things that you may have overlooked. And when you see it, it seems controversial until you look into it and realize, oh my goodness, I've been seeing this thing the wrong way all the time. I'm not saying, like, take for instance Joker. Joker is not a movie that Todd Phillips came up with and all right, let's just go on. No, it evolved as they were making it, right? This was a movie that evolved as they were making it. It became its own organisms, and they were moving and being adjustable and plastic with the thing that was unraveling before them because they were trying to work out the problem, right? But what I am trying to say to people is that, and this is so in movie making generally speaking, but what I'm saying is they had some idea of where they wanted to go with the thing. And because they got that room to play around, experiment, and push forward with the thing that they were seeing, they got this movie. But if you are interfered with notes and this executive is telling you this and this, and then this coming with ridiculous nonsense all the time, and you have to somehow indulge them, or you are a new director or not this big director with clout, so you can't give your singular vision to the screen. You have to do what these people, these executives tell you, because they don't know nothing about film, but they're telling you advice. Oh, this is what you need to do. This is what you need to do. And then they go in and they do their little what do you call it? Their little screenings and so how the fans feel. And just a lot of nonsense, a lot of noise. That's what destroys movies. Because a movie is its own organism. A movie has its own way of saying what it wants to say, even beyond what the director thought he wanted to say in it, even though he's a clear picture of where he wants to go. The movie takes that and becomes its own organism, and it says its own thing. It says more than the director thought he was saying. But when you interfere with that process, when you come as someone who doesn't know the creative process, you don't know how to make films, and you are injecting yourself and injecting your ideas into you're messing it up, man. You're messing it up. Because what makes movies special, what makes movies stand the test of time, what makes movies you want to go back and see, or movies that are transformative, is a singular vision. I've heard people talk about a collection of writers. They got a collection of writers. That's cool. That's cool. But it'll never beat a singular vision. Never. You can come with your team of writers and you can come with your team of producers. You know, you can have this token director out there. It'll never be as good as a singular vision, because a singular vision has a clear pathway to where it wants to go. There's a clear message, and the message, if it is a good director, the message is one in which is transformative, because it's going to make you have to confront something you haven't confronted before. So when we talk about the rest of the DCU, when we talk about the rest of the DCEU and where they fell short, the audience was no longer being transformed. The audience was no longer going somewhere in their life journey. Everything would stop with this nonsense, that the same story over and over. You go in there, your kids go in there, you go watch a movie. All right, we laughed a little bit with that, and we laughed, and that was it. Meaning, there's none. And again, meaning comes from a dedication, a passionate dedication to wanting this organism to bring forth. It's almost like you want a baby to come forth. It's kind of like a child being born. That's what you're doing effectively. So there's this collaborative process, but it's not one in which the picture being painted is being interfered with by people who are not qualified. They're not professionals in the area that is being considered. You have professional actors, professional cast, the people who do lighting, special effects, people who do the scenery or the environment. We have the wardrobe. These are professional people. You don't as a non-creative or an executive tell the wardrobe how to make clothing. You don't, as a professional and as an executive, come in there and tell the makeup people how to make makeup. So why the hell are you going in there trying to tell the director how to do the story? Why the hell are you going in there trying to tell the actors how to act? Why would you do that? A professional who is a professional, what they do, should be allowed to do what they do. That's why you hire them. Why do you think your suggestion is something that really will benefit a movie when there are the qualified people to handle that? And this has been the problem with the DCEU. The DCEU and the DCU have had people who don't belong in the creative process, pushing themselves, inserting themselves into the creative process. And it's a delicate thing. It's a delicate thing. They've been dialing back movies. Harley Quinn and Birds of Prey could have been a tremendous hit if they went all in all the way, as they probably did. But I'm sure the studio dialed them back, even though it's a rated R movie. Joker was allowed to go all the way. Black Adam should have gone all the way. It's another movie that should not have been dialed back. You look at Wonder Woman 84 was a mess. But I understood what Patty Jenkins was trying to do. But unfortunately for Patty Jenkins, she had Jeff Johns there. Patty would have done excellently with the same stunt team, the same coordinating people, and some help with the story. Because she was trying to create and portray something that was worth talking about. Leroy Kong says, shout out to Leroy Kong. Hello to you. These clowns have killed DC live action. When you're doing a movie, right? And you don't have to know actual movie making, but it's, you know, as a fan, when you're doing a movie, any movie, you have to ask yourself some questions. You have to go to the end before you can start at the beginning sometimes. Sometimes you don't know what the end is going to be because the movie keeps on evolving, but at least you have to start off with, okay, I'm going to start with the end and come back to the beginning, right? You have to understand what it is that you're impressed to say to people. That's why they storyboard, and that's why Zack Snyder storyboards. Some people write out the script. Some people write out the general story. You want to know what it is you want to say. Usually as a director, you have something you want to say. I don't care what anybody says. You have to have some sort of perspective on what you want to say, why you're so anxious to do a movie. Now, whether you have a script or not. Now, the thing about it is, I know movies evolve, but for movies to evolve, there's a natural creative process that is involved. Meaning, what I'm saying is, by you messing around with the actors messing around with you, you come up with something else that's outside of the script. You come out, the framework still kind of stays the same, but you evolve the movie becomes more, all right? But for somebody who does not get it, doesn't get what you're doing, to come and put their input into your movie is catastrophous. It can lead to a catastrophe. You see? And I took all this time to speak about superheroes, particularly because we're in this comic book movie genre, and because I want to show you it's not just about novelty. See, I never watched The Boys. Never did. Wasn't interested. People talk to me, oh, you should see The Boys and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, not interested. Because I understood that The Boys is not about our world and our reality. It's somebody thinking they have an interesting take now that they see Man of Steel inspired to do superheroes that are not perfect and they do all kinds of things and they kill people and stuff. And I'm like, what does that have to do with anything? How does that transform anybody? Didn't interest me. Because it's not just about novel ideas, as Mr. James Gunn said. No, it's about real things. It's about what is real. It's about identifying what makes somebody so important to everybody else, even though they particularly may not see it. So, the DCEU, the Flash movie, Blue Beetle, Shazam 2, Wonder Woman 84. Patty had a good idea of what she wanted to do, but she just didn't have it tied together, to be honest with you. She had something to say. But they really messed her up when it comes to the execution of it. Leroy Combs says, James Wan is very upset with James Gunn. James and James. James and James. Yes, I'm pretty much aware of that. I said on Twitter that they need to just let James Wan do what he was originally going to do with Ben Affleck and what he was originally going to do. Just let him do what he was originally going to do. Let him finish off his post-viz, his post-production on what he was originally going to do, and just forget about trying to change it to suit James Gunn's, what he's trying to set up. And just let it be. Man went into the hospital under stress, because they had him changing up so much of his movie. I know they're changing up, but he has the original drafts, and just like with Zack Snyder, just release the Wan cut. They've been doing this all the time. Andy Muschietti had his little movie lined up, and then it made him change it once when Abdi and DeLuca came in. It was for the better. They were going to try to kind of get the Justice League up in there, and they had a little humorous part, which I didn't really particularly like. I guess Joss Whedon wrote some of it. And then they then took away that, and they chopped up the movie, and James Gunn came in and chop up the beginning, and he made it a different beginning, and they made a different end in certain parts of the movie. They chopped it up, removed stuff that Henry Cavill was in there. The movie was a mess because Andy Muschietti had an idea where he wanted to go, and that's not where Andy Muschietti wanted to go. Just what it is. They messed up the man's movie, right? Hired the man to do a movie, and then they just destroyed it. Okay. Now let's just be, the viciousness at which they went at that movie. James Gunn getting his last stab at it. They totally tore that movie up. Okay. But this is not new, right? They tore up Justice League, right? They tore up Birds of Prey. Kathy Yen, they did a number on a movie. She can't say shit. Because David Ayer already said something about what happened with his movie. Kathy Yen's just gonna be quiet, take it like it is and move on. James Wan he wants this movie out of his way. He still doesn't want to see anything to do with this movie anymore. It's been a very, very awful experience for these directors. Speeding Bear says hi. Hi, Speeding Bear. It's been an awful experience for these directors because they came in with so much hope and all right, let's work on this movie. And they work for years on the movie. And then after working for years on the movie or a year on a movie, the studio just comes in and just changes up everything. So why do we think we have to release the Ayer cut? We got to release the Birds of Prey cut. Let Patty come back and redo Wonder Woman 84. The right way, but James Gunn's Suicide Squad, they didn't touch that. And they wouldn't touch that. And James Gunn did the most James Gunn-y movie ever. And it flopped because it is what it is. The only thing he's done well on film so far has been Guardians of the Galaxy because he's been working with Kevin Feige, right? Left to his own devices, James Gunn will make your movies flop. But they have all the confidence in that guy. Joss Whedon, flop Justice League, right? But they have all the confidence in Joss Whedon. He's still doing shadow projects with DC. You look at Black Adam. Black Adam was the most promising. Team of writers and all that kind of crap. But at the end of the day, Black Adam failed because they dialed back Black Adam. They said there was much more graphic stuff and they had to pull it out because of MPAA. Why are you pulling it out for? Make it rated R. End the story. End the story. Make it rated R. If you got to go hard or don't go at all. We don't want no half-ass piece of work. We don't want no, we're going hard and then all of a sudden we stop. No, you can't do that. That's why I said Rebel Moon. If it's rated R, it's rated R. Go all the way. I don't want to see in the theaters some PG-13 movie when there's a rated R version there. I'll just say, all right, I'm not going to waste my time going to the theater. I'll just wait for the rated R version. I want to see what the director really wanted to do. I don't want to hear about something that the studio said, oh, dial that back. I don't want to hear that. And when I say dial it back, it could be a comedy. It doesn't have to be rated R, by the way. What I mean is, I want to see the best performances by the actors. What they gave their heart and soul to something. Let me see that. Don't give me no half-ass thing because we have PPAA. We want the kiddies to see it, or no, that's just too much for the kid. I don't want to hear it, especially for a rated R film. Go hard or go home. Henry Cavill, Ben Affleck, Gal Gadot, and Zack Snyder will forever be my DC live action. Okay? Leroy Kong said. So what I'm saying is that compromise. I don't like compromise. I like, and the best directors convey their thoughts or convey the movie they wanted to convey. That's why they're so successful. When studios get in the way of directors, oh, we need to cut the runtime and we need to do this and we need to do this. No, shut up. Let the director do what he's doing. That's why he's called the director. If you want to take the director's job and you want to direct the movie, then come and do it. And don't pay the director. And then next time, you do the movie, executives. Otherwise, leave the people's movie alone. Okay. So let's talk about Pam Abdy and Mike DeLuca for a minute. Pam Abdy and Mike DeLuca have actually been doing very well with Warner Brothers Pictures. Why? Why, you ask me? Because though they are the CEOs of Warner Brothers Pictures, they have been allowing the directors under them to do as they want, except for DC. DC's run by James Gunn and Peter Safran, and they leave DC. They leave them to run DC. So the directors are doing what they want. Creed with Michael B. Jordan, successful. Mummies, an animated film, successful. Horror movie, Evil Dead Rise, successful. Internationally speaking, Ben Affleck's Ear, successful. Barbie, successful. Meg 2, the Megalodon 2, successful. 6 successful movies in 1 year. And they have, at the end of the year, they have I forgot what the name of the movie is. Hold on. Wonka. They got Wonka at the end of the year. Okay? Why? Because they're leaving the directors to do what they need to do. Ain't no notes passing down nowhere. So they've been very successful. On the other hand, DC has been atrociously dead. DC is dead right now. Okay? James Gunn brings nothing new to DC. Same program as Hamaga, Berg, and Johns, and he was never. And Jeff Johns was never fired. He resigned as DC head president, but he's still hands-on, working as a producer. He's working with scripts and all that kind of stuff for all these movies, and he was helping him out with the movies. Now I believe he's helping James Gunn and Peter Safran. He's still in the mix, obviously, because we saw him in the Flash preview for the Flash movie. These are the people that are still at DC that need to go. Casey Bloys, Jeff Johns, James Gunn, Peter Safran. Well, Peter Safran is just a producer, so I wouldn't really, I mean, he has the same views as James Gunn, but nonetheless, he's just a producer. And Aquaman is one of his movies. And they're trying to bring back Joss Whedon, who is right now ghostwriting for a lot of movies. So what I'm trying to say is that the old team's still there. And once they're there, it's really hard to really implement changes because they're going to support each other. And this boys club is supported by David Zaslav. But what I would say is this. What can we do? We still can support Zack Snyder through Rebel Moon. We should still continue to support the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, as well as other foundations for suicide prevention in other countries worldwide. We should continue to request that Zack Snyder's Justice League be put into IMAX and cinemas globally, particularly on November the 17th, which is the anniversary for Justice League, the animated series, and to replace that abomination named Justice League 2017. The other thing is, also, in addition, that we should want to get that announcement as soon as possible. So sometime this month, particularly before the middle of the month, which is a couple of days from now, Abby and DeLuca need to talk about this thing because it will replace Dune in the cinemas. They can replace Dune. Maybe some other movie has taken up the spot. The only thing that could take up the spot is the Marvels. That's the only other blockbuster for November. Zack Snyder just can run through November from the 17th all the way down to December. Then the next movie is Wonka. That comes out December the 22nd, the 20th, I think, 22nd. So they can let it run. Even it can run simultaneously with Wonka, but they don't have much competition in the month of November. So to just put Zack Snyder Justice League in the month of November would be very good. And it will do remarkable numbers for sure. The next thing they need to do is fire James Gunn. Let me be honest with you guys, okay? James Gunn is not doing anything for DC. He is Jeff Johns' kind of selected guy to go in there. It was supposed to be Whedon. Whedon was supposed to do actually, I believe, a Batgirl movie, and he messed up, so with Justice League and stuff, and the whole thing that happened there. So, but James Gunn and Jeff Johns, they need to be fired. Like, Warner Bros. Shouldn't be doing anything with them, nothing at all. And with respect to James Gunn, he just needs to be fired as head of DC. James Gunn is trying to say that, his Superman legacy is going to be great, and people are trying to trump it up and stuff. It's just not going to work. I mean, the stuff that Zack Snyder has done, like I said before, and the stuff that Zack Snyder has highlighted about a superhero, James Gunn can try and emulate that, but he doesn't have the tools or ability or skill to pull it off. He just doesn't, right? And he hasn't been interfered with, and his movie flopped. This guy's not a good director like that. Kevin Feige was able to use him for Guardians of the Galaxy, but he's a one-hit wonder. He's not going to do anything else that's going to do anything. In fact, what I like about discussions and sometimes arguing with people is that they bring out the truth. Like a guy was talking about how, Ezra Miller's The Flash in Justice League, he was pretty much denigrating Iris West because she's a black lady, he's a white guy, and he was stroking her hair, and it was hot dogs around, meaning sexually suggestive stuff. And I was like, dude, they're attracted to each other. Of course it's going to be sexual. They're attracted to each other. What do you want them to do? You don't want them to behave like a man and a woman, right? And when he's stroking her hair, but it's because he's stroking her hair because she's beautiful. So he's like looking at her in awe. What do you want him to do? They talk about the hot dog and all this bullshit. I say, well, listen, he moved the hot dog from in front of her face and put it in his pocket. If you ask me, that's a gentlemanly thing to do. Now, if you're a rapist or something, he would shove the hot dog in her mouth. You know what I'm saying? Just think about it. But the thing about it is these discussions help to crystallize why these movies are so good and why they're so important. Because when you think about the hypocrisy of these people, we saw Justice League, Whedon's version, when we saw basically the Flash dry humping Wonder Woman, if you do remember, right? Just for a joke. Right? He thought that was good. He giggles and laughs. So let's look. Joss Whedon, the Jeff Johns, Joss Whedon, James Gunn, them. Their way of thinking is nasty. Their way of thinking is dirty. We see Peacemaker not dry humping, but humping up a woman in the movie. You see him wake up in the morning with a different woman. We see him suggestively telling Aquaman that he has sex with fish. You're not criticizing that. No, that's hope, right? That's hope, fun, and heart, right? That's hope, fun, and heart, right? James Gunn could do no wrong, right? That's the kind of thing we're dealing with. A guy who says that superheroes, he loves superheroes, but they're the dumbest things ever. I guess your mother's dumb, James Gunn. I guess, hold on. I guess athletes are dumb. I guess people who we esteem so highly as our heroes or superheroes in life are dumb. Right, James Gunn? I mean, this is what we're dealing with, ladies and gentlemen. We're dealing with people who don't get it. They don't understand what the idea of a superhero is. They don't understand what superheroes are. These are the people writing the movies. These are the people that these stupid, clueless executives are giving to do Superman legacy. Right? The guy who represents what a superhero is, he's going to do it now. But guess what? His Peacemaker says Superman has a poop fetish. And everything's about poking and making fun because superheroes aren't really real. They don't really exist. They're the most ridiculous idea out there. Look at them wearing spandex, right? Oh, the comic book movies, they're for kids, right? That's what we're dealing with. That is what we're dealing with, ladies and gentlemen. That's why these movies are flopping. You wonder why the movies are not relatable, why they don't connect to life. Why they feel so fake. This is why. Because the formula is humor and emotion. Humor and emotion. But nothing to change and transform you. Nothing. Oh, we empathize with Peacemaker now. But what is it saying about me? The thing about Zack Snyder is this. He doesn't have a problem making you swallow a bitter pill about yourself. Because he's going to tell you something about yourself. And it's not necessarily going to be something you want to hear about yourself. So, you ask me why these DCU movies are flopping. One, people have come to expect DC movies to be transformative, to speak some sort of truth that makes us reflect on ourselves. Not just reflect on life in general and things in general. No, it makes you ask questions about yourself. And people have come to expect something of value. Zack Snyder's Justice League it teaches us a lot about ourselves. And some of the broken people. Some of the broken people. They find a way to overcome. Cyborg's story is one of the most beautiful stories because it helps. I wish Adam Snyder could have seen the movie after it was finished. But she didn't get to see it. But Zack made that movie for her. You know. I know what it is to try to commit suicide and to end your life. I know what it's like. And sometimes you just need someone there to say the right thing, to give you some measure of hope to come out of this dark place. Sometimes you're just by yourself. You can't handle it. So I know what it feels like to resonate with these movies. A lot of times people go into the theater because they have a political allegiance, like Marvel fans with Marvel movies. And they'll say, oh, this was the greatest movie ever, or whatever. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care about persuasive performances and bullshit like that anymore. I like to watch movies that say something for me as a person and an individual. I don't care about movies which are not transformative. I don't care about movies. That's a waste of my time. I think there are a lot of people who feel the same way. A lot more than the ones who say, oh, they're just make-believe. It's just fantasy. Superman isn't real. He's make-believe. That's the excuse they use to make everything make-believe. So if everything's make-believe, then why do I need to watch it? Well, you're going for escape. And how does that solve my problems? Problems are things you have to handle, not escape from. So what good is fantasy if fantasy is not going to help me with reality? And see, they like to use, oh, well, Superman isn't real. He's a fictitious character. But Superman is real. It's just that what you see on the screen represents people you know in your life. They will never tell you they're Superman. Just as how Superman will never tell you he's Superman. But they're Superman in your life. So I thought I would share that with you guys. I know it's a unique take that you guys haven't heard before. Some of it you've heard before, like tampering with the creative process and stuff like that. But specifically, Birds of Prey dialed back too much. Wonder Woman 84 didn't have the right support group around it, particularly with the action scenes and with tightening up the story. When we look at the Suicide Squad was forced. It felt very fake. It seemed like everything was about a punchline and the characters weren't taken seriously. When it comes to Black Adam was the closest thing. It wanted to be the closest thing to what the original Snyderverse movies were. But the problem with it was dialed back. So it fell short of the mark. And two, you could tell, and we knew Jeff Johns had something to do with this movie. You could tell that as much as there was excellent acting in this movie, that pieces of it were cut out of it. You could tell that there was more, like there was more to this movie than what you were watching. Like I said, it was dialed back. And so they should have just gone rated R and end the story. If MPAA is talking about it needs to be a rated R movie, then just let it be a rated R movie. God damn it. Just let it be a rated R. And if it's a rated R movie, you better go rated R. Otherwise, stop it. You know what I mean? I don't want to hear any exec say anything. If an exec says anything, tell him I'm going to walk or we do it this way. Directors need to stand up with balls, you know, because these guys, shout out to Rick Fumaweya. You know, he walked. He was like, yeah, you want to start? You don't want the story? I'm walking. And he walked. You know what I'm saying? Unfortunately for Kirstie Clemens, she got caught in the loop because she was trying to roll with Rick. But, you know, because they never really used Kirstie Clemens very much in the Flash movie either. Right? They never carried it any further. Right? So it is what it is. What's the other one? Oh, yes. So the Suicide Squad, waste of time. Black Adam, like I said before, they dialed it back. When you look at Shazam 2, the biggest obstacle in Shazam was Zachary Levi. Zachary Levi wasn't speaking the truth. Zachary Levi was poking fun at Snyder fans for no reason at all. And Zachary Levi was just a guy, I guess he was trying to be controversial or something. I don't know what he was trying to do, but he just had bad timing. He kept on saying a lot of stupid stuff. Now he's saying that, you know, these movies are trash, you know, don't support them. Listen, Zachary Levi, we love you, bro. And we know you were suicidal at a certain point as well. We don't want you to take your life. You're a cool dude. I'm sure you're all right. It's just that, bruh, you just say some crazy stuff at times that really sabotages any chance of people wanting to go see a movie. So we were ready to support. I was ready to support Shazam too. Zachary Levi just kept on, like, he just kept on talking and just talked me out of wanting to see it. And then when the movie did come out, you know, it really wasn't good. You know what I mean? It wasn't good. So it's hard, man. It's just hard. What was the problem with Shazam 2? Shazam is a funny character. Zachary Levi takes it too far. This dude takes it too far. Like, the kid Billy Batson is more in control. You don't believe it's Billy Batson who is Shazam anymore. It's like this crazy maniac that seems to be always young, and he's just doing some really dumb stuff, and like you can feel it's forced, right? And I was like, Zachary Levi, what is wrong with you, bruh? Like, he took it to the nth degree when he needed to he needed to dial it back. Like, I don't know what was it. Maybe Warner Brothers notes again. They probably were saying, okay, just push the jokes, Maybe it's that, because he needed to dial back. We had to believe that was Billy Batson, that turned into a god. And we just, like, the first Shazam, all right. But the second Shazam, come on, man. You Billy Batson. Oh, man. And the special effects was just terrible on that movie, as well as just, oh, man, they did Gal bad, man. They did Gal and they did Hunsu real bad, man. Y'all put Hunsu's head on Gal's body. Come on, man. Nah, man. Y'all could have transformed Wonder Woman into Hunsu's character. You understand what I'm saying? And then, of course, I had a problem with Billy Batson having a crush on Wonder Woman. I didn't really have a problem with that, but oh, come on, man. Don't put a black man head on a white female woman body, man. Come on, man. Y'all know that was wrong. I was wrong on so many levels, man. And the movie wasn't all that. It wasn't hitting. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't hitting. You know what I mean? The first one was good. The second one, man, wasn't hitting at all, man. Come on, man. I mean, come on. Oh, it was just awful, man. So, same thing with the Flash movie. Y'all got these corny ass jokes, and on top of it, the action ain't really hitting. It's sometimes hitting, and sometimes it's just not hitting. You know what I'm saying? And then the music wasn't great, and then, oh man, you got me thinking about these movies. I shouldn't be talking about them. I shouldn't even be thinking about them. Like, it just missed the mark. The Flash was just so, oh boy, it was bad. Most people will tell you, the general audience, people who actually saw it, would tell you the CG was like uncanny valley at certain points. And just got thrown off by the CG, you know what I'm saying? And then the jokes wasn't necessarily hitting. And then on top of that, y'all, and that's the thing, the CG could have looked really good if you tweaked it a bit. And then the way how the Flash was running was terrible. I mean, oh my God, man, what are y'all doing? And I know DJ was on this. I don't know how DJ allowed that to happen, or maybe people overrode DJ and DJ just had to go with it because, man, that stuff didn't look good. Most of it didn't look good. I mean, if you do some shading and color grading with it, it could look better. It could look, it could pass. But oh my God. And then all these popping colors. I'm like, are we in a circus or something? What's going on? You know what I'm saying? I'm distracted. I'm not following the story, really. I know what the story is. I understand the punchlines. But like, the thing is just like all over the place. It's not singular vision. I know it ain't. Andy Muschietti didn't come up with that. Nah. Executives had their hands in that. They was all over that piece. So like, nah. Andy's a better director than that. No way, man. They did Patty. They did Andy. You could just tell, man. Blue Beetle, I didn't even watch it. So what turned me off was when they said Batman is a fascist. After that, I wasn't gonna watch nothing. I was interested in it at a certain point. I was like, "Don't give it a shot." And then when I heard the father say Batman's a fascist, I was like, "Y'all don't even want to know what I was thinking," because it was expletives. I was like, "Man, get away with that." Like, God, take that crap. I was just getting interested, man. Get that stupid thing out of my see, they were starting to rope me in. I was like, yeah, okay. And then, because it was they over dramatized stuff. Like, what is with y'all? The girl who was calling out the Flash. I'm like, what the hell? Can't y'all stay cool? Stay cool, chill. You know what I'm saying? It was just like over melodramatic, overacting. Can't take that, man. So, Blue Beetle was too hyped, and for no reason at all. Like in the real world, people ain't overhyped like that. Come on, man. Y'all overdoing it, man, and it doesn't feel realistic at all. It feels fake and forced. You feel like you're on a set or something. You know what I mean? Some Hollywood movie. We just want real life, man. We just want something that feels natural. That's all. Even if you in a fantastical world. Look at Avatar. Avatar ain't even on our planet Earth. We got blue Smurfs walking around. But it felt natural. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. That, like, I'm not saying you can't have fantasy. I'm not saying you can't have comedy. But keep it grounded. Keep it organic, man. When I watched the Suicide Squad, a little piece of the Suicide Squad, I'm like, seriously, this can of garbage doesn't even the thing with the editing crew that took David Ayer's movie and made it a comedy feel more realistic, more grounded, more something I could follow than that pack of crap that they passed for the Suicide. Come on, and y'all want James Gunn to do Superman Legacy for real? For real? Y'all not serious, man. Y'all playing Looney Tunes up in Warner Brothers, man. Y'all playing Looney Tunes. You know what I mean? James Gunn ain't gonna bring nothing new. He talking to the talk. He ain't bringing nothing new. It's Guardians of the Galaxy's Part 1 again. Oh, let's say Part 5. Because the Suicide Squad was Guardians of the Galaxy Part 4. So we're gonna see Guardians of the Galaxy Part 5. Y'all know this. He ain't got nothing else. He ain't that good. You know what I'm saying? I just don't get it, man. Y'all, and he gonna pull from the animation, My Adventures with Superman. He gonna pull from that. That's what it is. He gonna do that teenage thing again. Come on, man. Y'all tripping, man. Y'all really tripping out here, man. Warner Brothers, y'all be tripping. Abdi and DeLuca, listen to me, man. Y'all need to talk to David Zaslav because he ain't know what the hell he's doing. He has no clue. Even I heard people talking about how trying to do a Harry Potter series continued is just so clueless. Like you're trying to milk the thing until it can't be milked again. You can go back to your classics and you can do reruns. You can even put some of the older Harry Potter movies back into the cinema, but I would not suggest you try to milk it by doing a new thing and mess up the series again. Y'all need to chill, like pull a brakes on things. Think about what you're doing. You have the Snyderverse, which is a unique thing, which is its own thing. Okay, y'all went golden, and even Jeff Johns was involved. Y'all went golden with Man of Steel. Y'all went golden with BVS, both theatrical and Ultimate Edition. Y'all went golden with Zack Snyder's Justice League, and y'all went golden with Wonder Woman. Y'all went golden because that brought each one of those movies brought something different to the table, different, and you're not doing that. But it's not just about bringing something different for different sake. It must resonate with the people. Wonder Woman was a very important movie because it resonated with the female audience. The women saw themselves on the screen in a totally different light. Something that they didn't realize that they were and what they meant to society. Wonder Woman brought it, crystallized it. Okay? And that movie is going to always be revolutionary. Okay? BVS, Man of Steel, Zack Snyder's Justice League brings something different to the table. Something totally different. That's why you have to continue with the Snyderverse. When we say Snyderverse, we mean Snyderverse. Now, James Wan, I have some compassion in my heart for this guy because this guy is the last director of the Snyderverse in the sense that his movies are not Snyderverse movies, but and Aquaman was quite frankly nothing. It really didn't say much, but whatever. But the thing about James Wan is his visual style and his action scenes are on point. And at least do the guy good before the guy gets to get out of the game. If y'all say you don't want to finish the Snyderverse, well, at least give this dude a chance to tell his story like he's supposed to. You know what I mean? At least do that for the guy. All right? I mean, it's not a foregone conclusion that his movie will flop. It's not a foregone, there's still time. But here's my thing. If you tomorrow restore the Snyderverse, some of us will go up and show our faces to see James Wan's movie. Period. It could be a load of shit. We'll go see it. We'll at least support you. You know what I mean? But you got to restore the Snyderverse because he was a part of the plan in the Snyderverse. He didn't. His movie got changed up because of Jeff Johns. But you know, he was a part. He was supposed to be part and parcel of the Snyderverse, and he really wanted to do. He wanted to do what you call it, The Trench. He wanted to do the Trench movie. You know, he still got some aspects of the Trench that he wanted to do in his movie. And I guess he wanted to get a proper script, and y'all, that's gone to hell because they changed it up so much. But James Wan wanted a proper movie, and he said he wanted a proper script. But James, I'm so sorry, bro. They screwed you over majorly. But you see, you shouldn't have let Jeff Johns screw you over the first time. I know he was the president of DC. I know. You know, I feel for James Wan, man, because, you know, I know James Wan loves Zack Snyder. I know Andy Muschietti loves Zack Snyder. You know what I'm saying? I feel for Andy Muschietti, too. I really feel for him. They screwed that guy so bad. And the only way y'all gonna know is if y'all see the Andy Muschietti cut. Because they screwed Zach. They screwed David. I'm going to tell you how many people they screwed, okay? They screwed David Ayer, Patty Jenkins, Zack Snyder. Now they screwing James Wan. They screwed up with James Wan movie, too, but James Wan managed to get through because of Jason Momoa. They screw over Jason Momoa. They screw over Ben Affleck. They screwed over Henry Cavill, right? Ray Fisher, Ezra Miller. I'm showing you how many people they screwed over. The Rock, okay? They screwed over Kathy Ann, and they screwed over David Sandberg. They screwed over all these guys, man. There's a lot of people got screwed over by this company. By interfering in their movies and just, oh, man. It's been tough, man. It's been tough, man. The only person they ain't screwed over yet is Todd Phillips, and the screw over might be coming. It might be coming, the way how these people work. So I speak directly to Abdi and DeLuca. Abdi and DeLuca, you guys produce. Y'all got to do something. Y'all got to put your foot down and say to David Zaslav, if you want a universe at all, you need to fire that dude called James Gunn, and you need to fire Jeff Johns. You need to fire them dudes. Look at our track record with Warner Brother Pictures. Look how we're doing. Look how they're doing. All right, here's the thing. Here's what we're saying to David Zaslav. David Zaslav. Here's how you give the Snyderverse one last chance. Put Zack Snyder's Justice League into theaters on November 17th. Advertise it this September. Say that it's going to go into theaters. Don't talk about no restore the Snyderverse, none of that. Put it in the theaters. Put it into IMAX. Let's see how it does. If Zack Snyder's Justice League rakes in a whole ton of money, you better restore the Snyderverse. We'll do our part. We'll make sure it's successful. You, Abdi and DeLuca, need to get that man to put Zack Snyder's Justice League into IMAX. James Gunn and Peter Safran have done nothing for DC so far. And from what we're hearing, Aquaman's a flop. So If that's the case, put Zack Snyder Justice League into IMAX. Let's see how it does. I can guarantee you one thing, it ain't gonna flop. Guaranteed. And here's the other thing. If it don't flop, well, let's get to the point. Since you saying that Aquaman is a lost cause, y'all ain't gonna advertise for it or whatever, here's the deal. Let James Wan, because it don't matter now, let James Wan at least get his movie to make some money. Let him do what he filmed that y'all didn't change up. And let him stick with that. Let the story end that way. Don't let James Gunn change up nothing. Let him just do what he was doing. All right. Now here's the thing. If Zack Snyder Justice League does well, y'all double down on that and make sure that man do what he wanted to do. Make sure you restore that Snyderverse. And if James Gunn ain't doing shit, then what do you have him there as head of DC for? Move him out and put somebody else in. And make sure you get Jeff Johns off the freaking sets. I don't want to see that man on the set. That man has done so much damage for the property. He's clueless as to what makes a hero a hero. He's clueless. So please remove that man from there. Let him stick with comic books. He can write comic books. He can write it till he dies. Write. He calls, what's the name of his thing? His thing is Max Ghost or some shit like that. Ghost Max or something. His name is company. Let his company write comic books. The Green Lantern series is coming up that he has first, what is it? First whatever. First look at. Let him have his first look. But quite frankly, I heard it's Berlanti doing it. That shit's gonna be crap. Okay? We don't want that. We want the Green Lanterns. Okay, I heard Jeff Johns gonna have some Green Lantern he's reserving for Superman Legacy and all. I don't want to see that stuff, man. We don't want to see that stuff. We want stuff that can actually relate to real life. And none of those guys do that stuff. They do fantasy. And they'll have their fans that want to see fantasy, fine. But then the fans are not enough. They're not enough to make a movie make profit. You're going to either deal with the audience and the masses that actually like certain things, or you're going to flop. DC's going to stay dead, and that'll be it. But if you want DC to live, you're going to do that. You're going to put Zack Snyder Justice League into theaters, watch it just do its thing. That movie will never fail. Why? Because that movie is a singular vision. It's its own organism. It tells its own story. Okay? Ain't no notes nowhere on that thing. That thing is destined to do well in the theaters and cinema. It's destined to do well. So, there you go. I wrapped it up. That's all I got to say for now. I'm finished. I said what I needed to say. We were Kong, Speed and Beer, Chris Brown, Joseph N. I just want to show some love to you guys. Thanks for coming through. Share this video with other people. Speed it up to 1.5x. So let them know to speed up to 1.5x when they're watching it. You guys can always donate to this channel via PayPal if you want to. I am Christ. I am disciple. I hope you guys had a good night. God bless you all. I got so much more I have to say, but I'm gonna leave it for another time. There's other points I wanted to make, but it's all good. I'm gonna catch you guys later. I am Christ. I am disciple. Y'all have a good night now. Peace.